Hello, everyone. Thank you for being here. My name is Scott Diamond, and I am the digital media coordinator for the Town of Perinton, and I'm here to support the technology and moderation of this meeting. Before we begin tonight's presentation, I'd like to explain how we'll handle participation, questions, and comments during this public information session. The purpose of tonight's meeting is to provide information and begin a community conversation about the potential for shared use trails on town-owned properties near Thayer Road and/or Dewitt Property off of Turk Hill Road. This is an early discussion to explore whether this type of use could be a good fit and to gather feedback from residents. We recognize this topic may generate strong opinions, and your input is important to us. This event will include a brief presentation followed by questions and discussion. Representatives from the Town, Recreation and Parks Department, and the Genesee Regional Off-Road Cyclists are here to share information and help answer questions. At the end of the presentation, we will open the floor for questions and comments. To ensure everyone has an opportunity to participate, we will begin with in-person questions and comments here in the room, and then move to participants joining us on Zoom. We also have an overflow room available with a live stream of this meeting, and if you're in the overflow room and would like to ask a question or provide a comment in person, please make your way down to the town boardroom during the question and discussion portion. Additionally, this public information session is being recorded, and it will be available on the town's YouTube page if you'd like to review it. We do ask everyone, whether attending in person, in the overflow room, or virtually, to follow a few basic expectations so that we can have a productive and respectful session. Please be respectful of others. Personal attacks or disruptive behavior will not be permitted. Please stay on topic and keep comments focused on shared use trails and the properties being discussed. Please allow others their turn and avoid interrupting speakers, staff, or other participants. Please be mindful of time so that as many people as possible can be heard. Our goal is to listen, answer questions to the best of our ability, and ensure that everyone has a fair and orderly opportunity to participate. We appreciate your cooperation and your presence here tonight. With that, I'd like to introduce Recreation and Parks Commissioner Jeff Nutting.
Thank you, Scott. Thank you all very much. There's 2 microphones here. This is a lot. Thank you all for being here. Hopefully those on Zoom can hear me. My name is Jeff Nutting. I'm the Commissioner of Recreation and Parks. Also want to introduce a few key staff people here. Chris Dudley is our Park Services Director. Janelle Reed is the Office Manager, so she's here taking notes, gathering this feedback. We also have our Town Supervisor, Jen Townsend, Town Board members, Emily Mishler and Dave Masterson joining us as well. Before I get started, I want to provide my deep appreciation to Todd Sheehan and Scott Mackay with Genesee Regional Off-Road Cyclists. Scott and Todd and Chris and myself met, probably a little over 3 years ago to talk about this topic regarding shared use trails somewhere in the town of Perinton. This is a topic that was discussed well before that as well. It's included in our 2019 Parks and Open Space Master Plan. And there are shared use trails going up in public, private property all over the nation. So this is something that these folks have been patiently, politely advocating for. And the purpose, as Scott Diamond shared tonight, is really to provide all of you an introduction to what this is, what shared use trails are, what properties could potentially be utilized for shared use trails, and then the next steps. I also want to recognize our folks from the Crescent Trail Hiking Association, Mike, Jim, Dave, others. Thank you for being here. Thank you for all you do to maintain our beautiful trails and open space within this town. Certainly any addition of shared use trails with mountain bikes would be done in coordination with the Crescent Trail, and there'll be many further discussions to come after tonight's meeting as well. So we'll start off with the presentation. So shared use trails, essentially it's a network of natural trails designed for non-motorized recreation. Biking obviously is the focus here. These trails are being bike optimized, built to make exciting features for mountain bikers, but also utilized by walkers, hikers, potentially equestrian. So it is not intended to be mountain biking only. It is intended to be built for all users of all interests and abilities with their recreational pursuits. Again, we anticipate with the way these trails would be built, that it would be most attractive to bikers, but certainly open to trail runners, hikers, potentially cross-country skiers as well. So you're utilizing the terrain that we have at our fingertips to build these with curves, potentially elevation changes, really working with the landscape that we have, and they will build trails off of that. They are designed in such a way to promote safety. So the intent is not to build these very steep 20% grades for bikes to fly down and potentially cause safety hazards to themselves and to others. Actually, the average grade might be up to 6%. So they are designed with those turns too, also to keep the traffic moving at an appropriate pace. Why are we even considering this? Really, it is a fairly low-cost recreational amenity that supports active lifestyles. 2 years ago, we built the skate park at Perinton Park. We had a lot of the questions there were, why are we doing this? Why are we building this for this one unique demographic? And many folks have shared that they see so much delight in seeing the very young kids and some of the older folks skating and working together in that physical environment. So we think this will have a lot of those same outcomes. There are mountain bikers of all ages, and again, all abilities, looking for these different pursuits that aren't your typical team sports that are played on a soccer field or a basketball court or one of the other many, many amenities we have in this town. It takes current open space that we have and utilizes it in a sustainable way, right? We're not cutting down trees and building major, huge parking lots or putting in asphalt tennis courts and pickleball courts or basketball courts. This is taking open space that we have and ensuring we sustain it for generations to come, but putting on a recreational amenity that's attractive to many different people. One of the very primary goals of this department is to enhance the quality of life for our residents. I believe that mountain biking could enhance the quality of life for those folks that utilize it. This user group is growing. This data from Statista indicated that from 2011 to 2024, mountain biking use has increased approximately 50%. I shared that this is included in our Parks, Open Space, and Trails Master Plan update. This document is actually on our website. It's really interesting. This was done in consultation with EDR in 2019. A lot of community input went into this. It takes all of our parks and outlines different priorities. Yes, it is 8 years old now, but there is still really good data. But in multiple locations, it specifically mentioned mountain biking as a potential enhancement to our system. So there are 12 recommendations summarized at the end of the document. Recommendation 4 was to develop designated locations for mountain biking and equestrian trails, ensuring proper, sustainable design of both trails and related facilities. And recommendation 5 was to increase multi-use trail connection to improve local and regional connectivity and to provide varied distances to accommodate all recreational enthusiasts, including cyclists. So very intentional, big outcomes there about cycling. We're going to get a little bit later into the presentation, two of our open space areas, Dewitt and Thayer Hill, but both of those properties were specifically mentioned in the master plan as potential areas for shared use trails. Anytime a town, municipality considers a new amenity, even at a recreational level, there are many steps it goes through. The idea behind this, about everything we do, every decision we make, is to hear from the community, right? We don't make decisions based on what we think is best. We bring in community groups, stakeholders, volunteer groups, everyone to share get the input, because there's no sense of us building any amenity without understanding that the community supports this, as a whole. So this is the rough timeline. Again, it started 3 years ago, although I'm only going back to March 26th as far as this presentation goes. So GROC presented to our Recreation and Parks Advisory Board. They are a 7-person volunteer group made up of our community members. The idea is that they represent the residents of the community and provide our staff feedback and input about our recreation and park services. So the GROC did present to the Recreation and Parks Advisory Board on March 26th. They came and presented to the town board in one of our town board workshops on April 8th. Brian Emelson with the town of Victor was kind enough to bring us on a tour of Dwyer Road Park, where they have a very well-established shared use trail network to show our board and our advisory board what this could look like. Tonight, we are having this public info meeting where we are here really to gauge feedback, whether you tell us verbally tonight or you fill out a comment form. If you didn't get one of these are right outside the door here. I'll also have a QR code at the end of this presentation to our webpage where you can fill out an electronic version of this form. So really, we encourage everyone to do that. Once we receive that feedback, we'll sit down, we'll review that, understand generally what the vibe is. What are people feeling? Are we overwhelmingly in favor of this? What are some of the little concerns that are shared? Is there a significant contingent that is not supportive of this? Okay, what are the issues? Is this something that we should work through the hurdles to address and make sure that there is support? Or is it so negative that maybe this isn't the right path forward, right? These are all true, transparent outcomes of what the result of this meeting and subsequent education could be. If there is generally positive feedback, we will have more intentional conversations with key stakeholders. You will see when we go through this presentation that this property, these properties are adjacent to some of our more well-known properties in this community. We want to understand how it impacts those bordering community members. Again, how it impacts the Crescent Trail Hiking Association. We want to be methodical in making sure that all of our concerns are addressed. We might also be presenting to our various volunteer boards. The town has a conservation board, a sustainability advisory board. Depending on how we feel or how this is progressing, we may engage with them to get their feedback and input on and recommendations. If all these things go great and we feel like there is really great community support, we would then be going to the town board for approval for maintenance MOUs, memorandums of understandings. And this would essentially be the board approving a maintenance agreement with GROC to go ahead and start designing and building trails at these particular locations. And then trail development begins. And then there's a long period of time where trail development occurs, which we haven't really defined that yet, but it would take quite some time before any trail is up and running. So I share, they did speak at the advisory board. General thoughts from our advisory board is it does meet a documented need as spelled out in our master plan. Really positive thoughts about volunteer-driven design and maintenance and construction of these trails. Our park staff is limited. We don't have the capacity to design and build 4 to 5 miles of trail network. And they have offered to do all that work and the long-term maintenance of that. Another great opportunity to get people outdoors. And then some of their concerns is it could potentially lead to more bikers on the Crescent Trail. So the Orange Crescent Trail goes through the entire town of Perinton. It goes through public and private property. It does go into private property that has easements that designate a certain type of use. Some of them have revocable permits where they could pull that permit. And there is concern if we have too many mountain bikers on there that might cause some issues with the neighbors. So we want to be very aware of that impact. And then also some safety concerns of how this would work with people hiking, people walking, people trail running. And also there are sections of these properties that we do have horses from JLD Equine that utilize. Understand what the safety impacts for the biker and the horse and the person riding the horse are. Development and management, again, Genesee Regional Off-Road Cyclists would take part in the design, build, construction, and maintenance of the trail system with the support and guidance of the town, of course. There would be significant collaboration with signage, wayfinding signs, Signs of you are now exiting this bike area. Please be aware. Please don't ride your bike because you're going on the Crescent Trail. Safety signage about who yields to who on the bike. General philosophy is bikers yield to everyone, right? So if there's a hiker or a walker, the hiker gets the right of way. If there is a horse, the horse always gets the right of way. So just education there. The town would play a major part in helping educate our community members. Both these locations would likely require a parking lot. It would be a gravel parking lot, very similar to what you see at our trailheads, Indian Hill, Howell Road Park, Horizon Hill. So a relatively low cost amenity for us. So this type of use is not unique to public land. Most well-known in our community for great reason is Dyer Road Park in the town of Victor. Approximately 15 miles of trails on 132 acres of property. Absolutely beautiful facility. Grok works with the town of Victor to maintain those trails as well. Irondequoit Bay Park West and Ontario County Park, it's part of the Monroe County Park System. I'm sorry. Irondequoit Bay Park and Tryon Park, Monroe County, Ontario County Park in Ontario County, and Whiting Nature Preserve in the town of Webster. There are more mountain bike and shared use trails in our area, but these are examples of trails on public land. Not going to go into the details here, and I'm not the one to speak to them, but the point I wanted to share is when they design these trails, these are based on IMBA standards, the International Mountain Biking Association. They have this entire, and I'm sure this is dated, but an entire guidebook of how to design, develop, build, maintain trails, safety considerations, and the folks that would be designing these trails follow those guidelines. So it is not, let's find the easiest, fastest path forward. It is, let's consider erosion, how that impacts things. Let's make sure that there's appropriate sight lines from a safety standpoint. Let's make sure that these are going to last for many, many years from a longevity standpoint. So there is significant consideration that goes into all those decisions. All right, so I am going to probably not be able to stand still anymore. Here is... All right. So the high peaks of Perinton, as I like to consider them. I'm going to come over to the other side here. So this is essentially the existing conditions. These orange, green, yellow, these are all existing Crescent Trail lines. Again, the orange trail is the one that goes through the entire town. These are all offshoots. This whole parcel is JLD Equine. This parcel, which I'll show another view in a little bit, is the backwoods property. There is mountain bike or shared use trails on that property right now. And then this is the trailhead, and Indian Trail goes up here. So the two properties that are in consideration right now are Thayer Hill and the Dewitt property. All right, so Thayer Hill is about 68 acres of town-owned land. The thought is they could build approximately 2.5 miles of single track on this. You see the blue and green trails? That is the trails on backwoods. So those are shared use trails. So the beauty of this space is they could connect directly to those trails. You can see the gray hash line, that is the orange blazes for the Crescent Trail. And it's not great, but if you look at this red line, that is the power lines. So one thought about this property is that is a physical thing that people know. And if we say you can only mountain bike within the power lines, that would be a good cue for people to get off their bikes and only stay in that area. This little box is about 1/2 acre. That is where we could conceivably put in a gravel parking lot. There is a bit of a grade there, so there would be some work. We haven't gotten as far as getting cost estimates or true understanding of what that looks like, but that would come over time. So you can see, I don't know if you folks are familiar with this, but this is a very steep grade. That's why there's a lot of switchbacks going up there. And then it's quite beautiful up here. So we could build some really great trails up there. Another nice thing about this parcel is the RS&E trail runs right here. That is a long gravel. Gravel's not the right word. Thank you. Very flat, great trail that bikes are allowed on currently. So people could bike to this property from the RS&E trail, and there's trailheads all over our parks property and eventually the Erie Canal that connects to this. The other property is the Dewitt property. This was land donated to the town quite a few years ago. This is the very top of Turk Hill. There is. All right, cool. I'm going to try to stand still then. There is a small access road, really it was a maintenance road at the top here, and a very small gravel lot existing. We have the ability to expand on that, potentially do some grading, and maybe put in an asphalt driveway to get up to the gravel lot. This is about 56 acres, approximately 4 miles of single track in this property. Again, with the potential of parking off Turk Hill Road. So if you go back to this general overview, these properties are very close to each other, right? At this point, we're really focusing on one or the other, with the potential to expand and connect those. We do have JLD Equine directly in between them. So there was a lot of conversation and understanding that we would have to manage and maintain to make sure that they're comfortable with that. But that is kind of a consideration of where we are right now. So in sum and substance, and we can go back to these maps during the Q&A if people want to get a closer look at that. This presentation is on our website. If you follow that QR code, the PDF, I don't know if it's on there yet, but it will be very soon if it isn't. This whole presentation will be linked to our website as well. But really, again, the goal of tonight is to share this general concept, listen to any thoughts, questions, concerns, suggestions you may have, gather community input, distill that information, and then figure out what the next steps would be from there. So your comment cards can be brought up, placed on this table tonight. You can fill them out on the website. You can email Janelle Reed with any comments or feedback. We are looking for all public comment by May 22nd, so that way we can stick with the timeline that we're looking at here. So with that, I will open it up to any questions. Oh, and sorry, if you do have a question, I think you got to come up and talk at the podium, but come on up.
Really quick, let me jump in. We'll start by taking in-person questions and comments here in the room. After that, we'll move to Zoom participants. If you're in the room and have a comment or question, please form an orderly line up at the podium. This setup provides audio for our video recording as well as our Zoom participants. Please refrain from comments or questions until you're at the podium. If you're joining us from the overflow room, please make your way down to the town boardroom now if you would like to participate in person. As a reminder, please keep your comments respectful, on topic, and brief so that we can hear from as many people as possible. And with that, we will begin with our first in-person question.
Hi, it wasn't as much of a question as like you had mentioned some examples of multi-use trails and you had mentioned Whiting, but also right over there is Herman Forever Wild Forest that is just recently opened up in the last couple of years. And also it is connected from Whiting to Herman Forever Wild by donation of a private landowner. So there is signage, that says, private property stay on trail. So I just thought that'd be also a great example for what you were going for. And I mean, I was there Sunday morning, we biking with a friend, and then I went later that afternoon with the family and the dogs. Trailhead was full, and it was a great experience both times. So that was all I had.
Thank you for sharing.
I think this is wonderful. But having lived on Turk Hill Road for 60 years, I have concerns about the parking lot up there because of the access and the speed and the size of the vehicles that travel on Turk Hill. So, because I think that access is right at the peak of the hill and people are flying and it's a very unsafe road. The other thing is, as the mother of a devoted mountain biker, hiker, backcountry skier, etc., he had concerns, and I understand that the Jensen Duncan property is involved here, but he has concerns about the damage that horses do to the trail with their hoofs and also with their what they leave behind. So,
Do you want to speak to that at all, Todd? You don't have to. Yeah, thank you. So yes, that parking lot, right now it is a very narrow entrance. And I think if we were to safely expand on a parking lot, we would widen that as part of that. So that's really good feedback. The horses are currently using that Thayer Hill area. And yes, they do leave their mark. So I can't really speak to the long-term maintenance of what that impact would be, but that's certainly a consideration. So thank you.
Hi, I was just wondering if you've had some consideration for accessibility for some of our disabled community members. I think this sounds like a great opportunity, but maybe we could think about building something in so that people who utilize assistive devices, have mobility issues, could actually enjoy some parts of these areas as well.
It's a great suggestion, and I'm going to give our friends and Victor more kudos for that as well. So they have a great model where and Brian, please let me know if I'm misinterpreting this, but they have a bike for rent, an accessible bike that folks can utilize that meets those needs and provides that access for everyone. So that is something that we would look to emulate as well. Thank you. Oh boy.
Hello, everyone. Brian Watkins. Some of you may know me as Brian Watkins of the Sewer Squad in Briarwood. For everyone who does know me, I live in Fairport for about 6 years or so. I'm an avid mountain biker. I've biked all the trails that you mentioned, and then some. I'm an extreme advocate for these two. Like, let's do it tomorrow if we can. And for anybody who has concerns of mountain bikers getting in the way of hikers or any other people who use the trails, I've been on many multiple use trails, and I can attest that yes, mountain bikers are very kind human beings. Even though we act crazy, we do step aside and are very friendly and offer our cold beverages to other folks at the trailhead when you come back. So I can assure you that we would do everything in our power to take care of these trails, then some, because I've been involved in Grok and at Tryon and other places. So I do take care of the trails. I do saw logs. I do move logs. So it is easier for everyone to use the trails. Mountain bikers, don't really want to ride over gigantic trees. So we cut them out of the way so everyone can use the trail. And I've seen Scott and other folks on the trails. He may not know me, but his reputation precedes him on the trails. He's an excellent steward. We know the type of work that he does on the trails. It's excellent. Bay Park West is a fantastic place to ride your bike, even though it is very small. We make the best use of that area, which I think he and his team, the Grok team, would make the most out of Thayer and Dewitt. Too bad we can get all that space. Sorry, I'm kind of excited about this, but I think that's all I have to say. I just want to make sure you know that I'm going to be involved in this project. Thank you.
Thanks, Brian.
Hi, I'm Jacqueline Anderson, and I'm on the board for the Crescent Trail Association. I'd like to speak on my own behalf, not as a representative of the board. I am sure the mountain bikers are extremely frustrated with the Crescent Trail because we have long received many emails advocating for this. The current trail system that we have was never designed for bikes. And in our bylaws, it's a footpath. And many of our revocable permits do not allow bicycles on it, which is why it's very interesting to us that these new projects are happening on town land where the town can control and make sure that it's wide enough for everybody to use. As our volunteer organization that maintains the trails, we don't have the bandwidth to change the existing trails to meet the needs of a mixed-use trail. Our major concern in this whole situation is number one, making sure we continue to have our revocable permits remain in place and to keep our hikers safe. We've had complaints over the years from people, hikers that use the trail, bikers that weren't following the rules. I mean, they might not be mountain bikers, they might just be kids. We've had people that complain about mountain bikers being on their property at all hours of their night, things like that. So that's where our concerns come from, is making sure that we're being responsible with the footpaths. So with this being on the town land and a new system of trails dedicated to bikes, if we can keep them in a designated bike designed area, I think that would be a good thing.
Jacqueline. What else?
I will actually agree 110% with you on safety is a priority, both for the walkers, the mountain bikers. But what's really interesting about this whole map, and I have lived here all my life, is all of these trails were built by my generation and generations below us when we were riding motorcycles. None of this was around. This is how we got back and forth to our friends' houses. Every day, every night. It didn't matter. We just rode. Behind what is used to be McGregor's, the gas station across the street, there was a motocross track back there. How did we get there from the other side of Fairport? We rode these trails. How did we get out to the Eastview Mall? Rode our motorcycles. How did we get out to Victor? Rode our motorcycles all through these trails. Mr. Jensen was an amazing gentleman and always understood that we would use his property to go through. We were always polite to the horses, polite to the people, tried to be professional as best we could as kids. Things happen, but it does go to both sides. There are walkers that are out there that are not professional, polite, or courteous. On the same side, I'm sure on the mountain bike side, there's the same thing. So how do we bridge that gap to make an understanding and the community that understands both sides, that want to use the thing to get out and get the exercise and take some frustration out of it? You guys hike, we mountain bike. Do we need to have separate trails? Absolutely not. We just have to be courteous. So how do we do that? I am in all favor of both of these properties. I will participate in whatever digging needs to happen as a disabled vet in the community. I hope we can move forward with it because I think it's important. And I think Brian did an amazing job with Victor, and I support that 110%.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm going to go before you. It'd be amiss if I didn't chime in now. As a disabled veteran myself, my family and I moved here from New Zealand a few years back, and what drew us to this area was a sign that read Trail Town USA. And not only did we see that, there was the rumor that there was going to be a skate park that was going to be built in the area as well. And I can't tell you how grateful me and my family are for everything that you have done and the progress you have made to be able to address the concerns with safety at the forefront of making sure that everybody's taken care of and to allow them an opportunity to be able to flourish. Having seen the world, I've seen nothing but people being able to capitalize on the physical and the economic benefits that come with this. And so thank you for everything you've done already. And I look forward to, as everybody said already, this happening tomorrow. And there's always room for improvement. So if there's a way that we can be part of the solution, please count me in as part of the process, and kudos to everybody who's making it happen. And please let me give you some wind in your sail to keep moving forward, because it meant a lot to me and my family. So thank you for letting us make this our home. We're really happy to be here. Appreciate that.
Thank you. There have been a few of you that said willingness to help, which we really appreciate. If we do proceed, they are going to need help. So if you fill out your comment card or email Janelle and just say you want to be on a distribution list for updates and volunteer efforts, we would be happy to share that with you. Brian.
Good evening. My name is Brian Emelson, as some people know already, but I live at 44 Southwood Lane in the town of Brighton, where I've lived for the past 30 years. And 30 years ago, my first introduction to Parks and Recreation in Monroe County was through a meeting I had with Jim Donahue. I was moving, Jim, former Commissioner of Parks and Recreation with the Town of Perinton. My mentor and my supervisor at my job in Howard County Department of Parks and Recreation in Maryland had sent me to Jim. I'm moving to this area. I'm going to be looking for a new job, going to be getting married, buying a house. And Laura sent me to Jim. I had a meeting with Jim. It was just after Perinton's first community center project didn't pass. And Jim was committed to getting it done. And the reason Laura sent me to Jim and sent me to Perinton is because in the field of Parks and Recreation, Perinton has always been the gold standard in anything they've done, from recruitment of talent like Jeff and Chris and many of their staff that I've worked closely with and had in my classroom at SUNY Brockford as undergraduate students. So I'm dating myself, but Perinton has always been the gold standard that park and rec agencies in our area look to when they have a question about a new facility, when they have an idea, when they're looking for new ideas in their programs. Perinton has been the standard. Now, while my career didn't lead me to Perinton, it led me to the town of Brighton for the past 23 years with the town of Victor as the director of Parks and Recreation. It's been an absolute pleasure to see the growth and success of the Perinton program, and they continue to be the leader in all aspects and attributes related to the quality of life brought to residents and visitors through their commitment. And so I see this discussion of shared use trails and these two properties as just a continuance of that pursuit of excellence as a park and rec agency in our area. So thank you.
Thank you, Brian. That was very kind. Anyone else? All right. So this is not the last chance. Again, please. Sorry.
We'll now move over to questions from participants joining us on Zoom. If you are on Zoom and you have a question, please use the Q&A button at the bottom of your screen. I will read the questions aloud in the order that they received, and members of our team will provide responses. Jeff, please continue. We'll wait for a couple of questions to roll in if they do.
Again, this is not
comments.
I'm sorry.
You mentioned questions. Are you open to comments?
Yeah. Yes, absolutely.
Okay. So, I've been a resident a long time, big mountain biker as well. It means a lot to open these up for people.
Yeah.
Worded very nicely. There's not a whole lot for me to add. It was just one comment about horses and bikes and things like that. Just want to point out that my wife and I do a lot of mountain biking around, and we've mountain bike in Saratoga, which is probably one of the horse capitals of the world, if not, at any rate, we've ridden on trails with horses and bikes riding together at times. I mean, it's really something that can work. You have to have the right rules in place. People have to exercise common sense, but we've been in Saratoga where literally you see a horse and a biker riding together. So there's ways around it. It does work. Yeah. You.
Just wanted to share a quick perspective. My name is Tim Harrington. I'm a mountain biker. Grew up in Perinton, 70s and 80s. So I just wanted to share maybe some perspective. I've hiked, but it's possible that some hikers haven't mountain biked. So just some thoughts on that. First of all, there's a study, a human study on longevity called Blue Zones. I highly recommend it. They did a study of all the places in the world that are the people that live the longest and are the most healthy. What are the commonalities of all those places on Earth so we could extract some lessons on life? At the top of those lists, the common themes throughout these places on the planet that have the healthiest people, regular exercise and community. So the regular exercise is getting out and moving. It doesn't have to be a gym. And the community is going out and doing things with other people. Doing those two things helps you live longer and be healthier forever, right? So as a town trying to promote the things that they offer, amenities, that's a great thing to add for everyone. Riding, what is riding? Riding a mountain bike is a respectful, very deliberate exercise. So if you do shared use trails, you're less likely to have random bicyclists that just roll on your trails and are possibly disrespectful. To be a mountain biker, you have to want to do it. You have to get a dedicated bicycle. You have to transport there. So you're putting your effort into it, and you're part of the community that respects this amenity, because it's like skiing. You don't just do it in your backyard. You need resources available provided by the town. Trail maintenance. Trail maintenance is not bulldozers, dump trucks, and impermeable surfaces. It's people with shovels and backpacks. So don't think if you're approve this that here comes the noisy machines, right? It's just folks with tools. The other thing I would note is that I'm a member of GROC. I've not yet had an opportunity to go out and help with trail maintenance, and I feel guilty because there is for sure a sense of shared, unspoken, but shared responsibility to maintain and be respectful of these trails because we appreciate them. I don't know how they do it, but in the fall, I'll go out on a Sunday morning at 8 a.m. They've been there and the leaves are pushed aside for our trail. I don't know where they come from or go to. It's like magic. So that's something that you would get with this is the GROC folks that are so professional and magically effective. So thank you for considering this.
Thank you. Todd, did you want to say anything? Okay. You don't have to, but okay. All right.
We have not received any questions or comments on the Zoom from participants. If there are any other comments or questions in the room, please feel free.
I was just a quick comment. You had mentioned going and touring Dryer, and we have a Wednesday ride group, and we were there last night. And there is like in these bright turquoise shirts, at least 100 kids, like from 8 to 12. I don't know if you guys have seen them. I think they started last year. They had like orange shirts last year. I've never seen anything like that except at like maybe a lacrosse tournament. So I mean, it just goes to show that the next generation is being taught the correct way to be on the trails and do stuff. And maybe that's for the best versus people just sort of going in without knowing anything and going all over. So I don't know if you guys have seen that, but it was pretty amazing. So I just want to bring that up.
That's a great point. Thank you for sharing that.
The group's called Roots. Yeah, Skexel, 20 Kirkby Trail. And I've been here since 2016, kind of grew up around here. Moved here because of the trails. And I grew up in Macedon. Family's from here originally. The farm across the street from Clausen's was my grandfather's. So since about like 1910. Yeah, I don't think the building's that old. But so I decided to move here because of the trail system. Used to trail run, but my body doesn't like that anymore. So now I mainly mountain bike. But I helped as part of a group of guys that helped Todd over at Backwoods get that all built. So, definitely have myself and others as volunteers to get out there. And I think, important thing to keep in mind is good communication between everybody. That's a problem that exists today a little bit, is there's a lack of good I don't know if I want to call it communication, but details, knowledge that causes anger. If there's good communication, good signage, people understand the rules, we can all live very happily together. It's a big area. It's a great town. And like I said, I'm all for it and here to volunteer and help all I can. Thanks.
You.
I just wanted to say that I am both a mountain biker and a hiker. I'm a member of the Genesee Valley Hike Club, and I lead several hikes, one of which is on those properties right there called the Indian Thayer Hill hike. I lead that about once every other month. And I find that property is just perfect for those conditions for both hiking and biking. I rarely see bikers on that property, but I would see that once it's legal, that would be a great thing to have.
Thank you.
Didn't have anything prepared, but my name's Scott Mackay. I'm the president of Genesee Regional Off-Road Cyclists, and I'm really appreciative of the town of Perinton to bring this topic up and bring it to the community for discussion. And I think mountain biking and hiking and equestrian use of trails have come a long way since mountain biking has become, a popular sport. And I think with enough education and everyone getting along, as mentioned before, I think this could be a very good thing for the town and for the community. And welcome to work towards that. Thank you.
Yeah. Anyone raising their hand yet? Scott? Nope.
I'll go for it. Mike Mimkin, I'm a resident. I'm part of the Grok team over at Dryer, and I've worked with Todd over at Dryer. I also participated with Backwoods and also with Farmall as well. I just think it's taken an awful long time for Perinton to get around to creating trails. I've been riding long enough that I remember when we used to be able to ride the bikes, and then Crescent Trail came along and kind of shut us down. And I really would like to see a lot more opportunity for mountain biking in this community. I think, the mountain bikers really are able to pitch in and help to maintain trails. Trees are down, we'll get out there in a hurry and get those trees cleared off. We'll create trails. And I think it's a great resource for the trails that we have in Perinton to be able to help maintain them if we have the mountain bikers and Grok to be able to get out there and do the work.
You said help, right? I heard you say earlier, lack of bandwidth. It's a great solution. Work together.
All right. Well, once again, thank you all very much for coming out. Feel free to send in comments, share ideas. Again, if you send out a comment card and we get your email, we will send you updates on where we are in the progress. And if there's any more public informational meetings like this, we'll sure to invite you all. But for now, give us your information and we'll go from there. Thank you all so much for coming out. We really appreciate your time.